What's going on, everyone? This is the Noah Gillian Show, and I, of course, am your host, Noah Gillian. So happy you decided to join in today. It is the 3rd of October, 2023, and on today's episode, we're going to be discussing the Eagles squeaking out an overtime victory against the Commanders on Sunday. Before we get into the show, please hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please give us that 5-star review. It only takes a couple seconds, and it really helps the podcast grow. And yeah, just it really helps. So if you could do that, it would be great. Also, you can find our handles for Twitter, Instagram in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, I got the handles to the show right here on screen. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, the Eagles on Sunday, October 1st, take down the Commanders 34-31 in overtime. It was just a crazy game overall. There was a lot happening each way. There was a lot of great plays both ways. There was just a lot of great action from the Commander side of the ball as well as the Eagles side of the ball, and just overall, it was a good product they were putting out there. Not a lot of turnovers either way, no fumbles, no fumbles lost, I should say. But overall, great game. Let's start off with our takeaways with the Birds. Starting off with number one himself, Jalen Hurts. Pretty good day for Jalen Hurts at the end of it. It really came down to his deep ball in this game. I think it was the reemergence of that aspect of his game that he did so well last year, and it just kind of showed how what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just how determined, how at peace with his game, how I guess determined, I'll go back to that he is to be the best at he can be. A lot of people were clamoring that he doesn't look the same, the Eagles don't look the same, yet we're 4-0. Just like he doesn't quite have the same juice that he had last year. And honestly, I think it's just a bunch of baloney, because you look at it, and in each game this year, he's kind of had to do something different, and he's done exactly what the team has needed for them to win the game. In this specific game, you saw the Commanders really focusing on the short throws that the Eagles were going to throw. They were really up on the Eagles receivers. They were blanketing all the guys. So what does that mean? That means they're going to be up, they're going to be jumpy, they're going to be ready to come up. That's when you can hit guys with the double moves and go over the top for the deep ball, something that has been taken away from the Eagles by a majority of the teams they've faced this year. Really haven't been able to connect down the field. Outside of the Vikings game on Thursday Night Football, we didn't get a lot of deep action against New England. Wasn't a ton of deep action in week 3 against the Buccaneers. A little bit here and there, but nothing consistent. And in this game, you just kind of saw that switch flip a little bit. He ended the day 25 of 37 for 319 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles. Just a great day to not have a turnover. I believe it's his first game this year without a turnover. So the fact that he's, that's one of the best attributes that Jalen Hurts possesses is his ball security. Very rarely puts it on the deck. Very rarely throws interceptions. And, he fumbled the ball in a crucial moment in week 1 against the Patriots. Threw picks early against the Vikings, threw interceptions against Tampa Bay. There was times where he was being a little loose with the ball, but in this one, even in a game where he threw it 37 times, even in a game where he, was pushing the ball down the field, he still was able to take care of the ball and still was able to be productive and still able to get the ball completed to his big play guys. Speaking of those big play guys, A.J. Brown, absolutely dominant game. 9 catches, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a long catch of 59, which was a touchdown. He had 13 targets. So you could really see the emphasis in terms of the offensive game plan to get the ball to him and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith had 9 targets, 7 of those caught for 78 yards. He also had a 37-yard catch as a long. So it was really emphasizing going deep. Even guys, Dallas Goedert had a long catch of 17. DeAndre Swift, Olamide Zaccheaus, both like 11 yards. Not super deep, more intermediate ranges, but still, was able to get involved and spread the ball around a little bit. Only 6 guys caught passes, 2 of them being running backs, and only 3 wide receivers. So you saw kind of a little shift in focus. They only suited up 4 wide receivers for this game and 4 tight ends. So you were kind of, interested to see where it was going to come from. But, it's coming from A.J. Brown, and it's coming from Devontae Smith. And they were both able to just dominate on the outside. Their cornerbacks had no clue what to do with the Eagles' best options on the outside. Speaking of Jalen Hurts, this stat per NFL Research and Shane Hoff NFL, this game on Sunday, it was Jalen Hurts' 5th consecutive regular season game that Jalen Hurts won after being trailing by more than double digits. Absolutely phenomenal stat. 5th straight win in the regular season in which he found himself down 10 or more points. It's that type of resiliency and confidence the Eagles have that it doesn't matter that if they go down multiple scores, 10 plus points, it doesn't matter. They're going to be able to fight, they're going to be able to claw, and they're going to be able to put themselves in a position at the end of the game to win a ball game. And it's been phenomenal. You see it. I got another stat: percentage of drives ending in a punt or a turnover. The Eagles have the 6th best percentage in terms of fewest. It's 40%, which obviously isn't great, but they're number 6 in the entire league. San Francisco number 1 at 29, and then a couple teams in the 30s, and then the Eagles are at 40% at the number 6 in the NFL. So, you're looking at a team that rarely punts, that rarely turning the ball over in terms of the league environment and how that goes. So, I'm loving what I'm seeing. I think it's been, Nick Sirianni said it great, they've kind of had to win different ways each game, and I think that is so crucial when it comes down to January, in playoff games, December, January, potentially, and hopefully February. These types of trials and tribulations are so key. It can't be understated how crucial. Jalen Hurts, Lane Johnson after the game mentioned, if that late touchdown to Jalen Hurts, to A.J. Brown, the deep ball, he saw a lot of emotion out of Jalen Hurts that you don't usually see. And he was saying, it's so, and Jalen said after the game, it's so important to win these types of games because these types of games build character, they build confidence, they build camaraderie amongst the team, that it doesn't matter who we're playing, what the score is, we're going to do our thing, and we're going to put ourselves in a position to be successful and control the things we can control. I think it was a great stat, a couple great stats there about Jalen Hurts and the offense. It's just been phenomenal to see kind of how, they've grown, I guess is the best word, throughout this year, and how they've been able to mature as a team, even a young team, with Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, young members of the offensive line, a new coordinator, first-year coordinator. I think it's important to see as we kind of grow into the year. And people have been saying, they don't look the same as last year. In certain aspects, they're right. Last year, there was, a lot of consistency, pushing the ball down the field. Jalen Hurts' running ability hasn't been running quite as much as last year. So maybe, you can pick some nits there and see how it goes. But honestly, the offense has done so much this year. Pretty sure they've scored 25 points, 34 points, 25 points, 34 points each, every other game. So they are putting up enough to win. They are doing enough to win, and it's great to see. It's phenomenal to see what they're able to do there. Side note, Jake Elliott, absolute stud of a kicker. I got a stat here. Eagles kickers. This is Oh, what is this? 54 yards and out. Jake Elliott is 10 for 16. Absolutely dominant. This is Eagles kickers, I guess, all time, I'm assuming. Everyone else 5 for 41. Jake Elliott 10 for 16. Has just been super consistent. Can stretch his range all the way out to 61 when needed. And it's just been a godsend for Philadelphia fans all the way back to 2017. Hopefully he retires an Eagle and he just continues to do his things on the special teams, because when he got that chance, 54 yards, I feel like everybody was pretty confident that that thing was getting drilled no matter what, and it was great to see. As we kind of shift to the other side of the ball here, the Eagles defense definitely struggled in this one. I don't think there's any two ways about it. Now, they definitely still put up some good stats. There's no doubt about that either. Standout player, obviously being Nicholas Morrow, had 11 tackles, tied for second on the team, tied for first and when it comes to solo tackles. He also had 3 sacks. Just an absolutely dominant performance from Nicholas Morrow through 4 weeks. He is the second highest graded linebacker in the NFL behind Roquan Smith of the Baltimore Ravens. So Nicholas Morrow has been a revelation for this Eagles defense. And, he also had 3 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss, as I said, with the sacks. So, he has absolutely been dominating this game. At the linebacker position, he made big plays last week against Tampa Bay, and he's really starting to come into his own as that lead backer in Philadelphia. Also, Zach Cunningham, the other linebacker, led the team in tackles, second on the team in terms of solo tackles. For a unit that has gotten negligent, or has just been neglected, I should say, by the Philadelphia Eagles front office, these guys that they're brought in are performing. You're talking about guys that are around the ball. Nicholas Morrow is making plays in the backfield. Guys that are really, really producing. So I think I wanted to give those guys, some flowers for how great they're doing in the middle of the defense. And then when you talk about the defensive line, the defensive line did have a good day. I think more of the secondary is where we kind of see some of the inefficiencies of the defense. But when we talk about the defensive line, I had a stat here. Here we go. Hassan Reddick and Jalen Carter each led the Eagles with 5 pressures in Sunday's win. So each of those players had 5 quarterback pressures in the game. The Eagles had 32 pressures as a team, which is an absolutely astounding number. So just for reference, Sam Howell threw the ball 41 times. He threw the ball 41 times, and on those 41 throws, 32 times he was pressured by the Eagles defensive line. So they're still getting on and getting after the quarterback, even though they gave up a lot of points and, they were kind of struggling a little bit, with certain aspects of the game. But they're still all over it. Josh Sweat added to his total this year with a sack. Hassan Reddick finally got a sack of his own in this game. It's been important to get him back in the it's going to be really, really important to get him back in form. He did mention before this game that he got the cast off of his hand. He's been dealing with a finger injury through the first couple years that he was wearing kind of a cast in game. And he just mentioned he was getting off for practice this week, and he mentioned in practice how much smoother he felt, how much more free and more violent he could be attacking the offensive lineman. And hopefully that parlays itself into a dominant stretch, great form, especially with the quarterbacks that the Eagles are going to be seeing on their schedule coming up. It's very, very, very important that we can get Hassan Reddick back into his form from 2022. Other than that, the secondary wasn't phenomenal. I got a stat here. Yards per play allowed. Yards per play allowed. In 2021, they were 7th. They were number 7 in the league. Last year, they were number 1. They were number 1 in yards per play allowed. This year, they are 16th. So much middle of the pack, pretty much right in the middle, as average as you can get. Obviously, it's not a below average group, so you can it's not like the sky is falling. However, that isn't an area that has kind of lagged behind in terms of defensive production. There's been interceptions, obviously Darius Slay had the pick six in week 1. Reed Blankenship has, picked off Baker Mayfield last year. There's been guys that have been making some plays on the back end, but I think you're not really seeing them come together as a unit. And a lot of it has to do with injuries. Let's be frank. Jesse Evans and Sidney Brown both missed this game with injury. You do have Reed Blankenship back in the lineup. He missed week 2 against the Vikings with injury. So it's tough. And obviously James Bradbury missed a game with injury, had to play the nickel cornerback last week, and a little bit against the Commanders on Sunday. So you're just seeing a group in a lot of flux, a lot of new things being thrown at them, and a lack of time to gain continuity, I think, is the big thing with the back end. And that's the position group out of any that needs that continuity. Outside of offensive line, I think the defensive backs, there's a lot of handoffs, switching coverages. There's a lot of communication that happens, pre-snap, who's covered, where in the field we need to be at. Because if that's not right, your defense is going to have a tough time, no matter how good your defensive line is or your linebackers. So overall, not the best performance from the defense. However, the defensive line was dominant again. Jalen Carter is just proving to be a menace on the defensive side of the ball. 5 pressures. He only had 3 tackles and should have had a sack, but Sam Howell just slipped right out of his grasp somehow, some way. And him and Jordan Davis were great in the middle of the field. Fletcher Cox had another good game, was just bullying offensive linemen on this one, just throwing people to the side. So that was really, really great to see. Other than that, it was a good day for the Eagles in general. Late in the game, they give up that touchdown as time expires. And honestly, more than likely, they're not even in that position if A.J. Brown does not taunt the cornerback after his go-ahead touchdown. And he even mentioned after the game that Jalen Hurts addressed that on the sideline, said, listen, you can't do that. Like, we can't afford to have those mental lapses where we're giving a team, we're up 7 points, where we're giving a team, that much yardage. They declined to use the 15 yards on the PAT, so Jake Elliott knocked it through. But then we're kicking off. The kick returner for Washington is catching the ball on the 10-yard line, and he just has a runway. They got all the way out to the 40, I believe, 35 or something, and, had 50 seconds, a minute and a half, or whatever the case may be, one timeout. And they were able to march right down, and Eagles obviously didn't want to get beat over the top, so they're playing very soft coverage. And, you can't do that. And I think it was important and imperative that Jalen Hurts addressed that on the sideline, and especially that it was Jalen Hurts and not Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson or the wide receivers coach or anything like that. It's got to be Jalen Hurts. It starts with him, ends with him. Accountability has been one of the buzzwords. It's been one of the core values for the Eagles in the Nick Sirianni era. So the fact that he was able to, hold up, even in a big moment. I mean, when he caught that touchdown, Jalen Hurts was more excited than anybody. It's the most excited I may have ever seen him on a football field. Just broke his calm demeanor and got really, really excited. And even after that moment was still able to say, listen, you got to be better. I think that's so important, and it's so crucial to build those habits now, though, because maybe that play happens in the NFC Championship game this year, and we score a touchdown with a minute left, and A.J. Brown's been talking with the cornerback all game, and he just runs back to the sideline and celebrates with the teammate, and then we pin him deep, and they have to go the length of the field in a minute and a half, as opposed to from the 40 to the goal line in a minute and a half. And that makes 30 yards is such a difference when it comes down to the margins of victory, especially in the playoffs, but just generally in the NFL. So I was very, very excited to see Jalen Hurts do that. Other side notes, DeAndre Swift, another really, really good game. 14 carries, which I don't love. I need to see at least 20 carries from DeAndre Swift every game. I'll talk to you on that in a second. 56 yards and a touchdown for DeAndre Swift, so looked very, very good. Jalen Hurts looked good getting out of the pocket, 9 carries for 34 yards. Then Kenny Gainwell got 4 carries for 14 yards. So we did run the ball 27 times, but honestly, it was despicable. We should have ran the ball all over these guys. And I feel like I'm a broken record. I come on here every single week and talk about it, but they move people with their offensive line. And DeAndre Swift is so shifty in the hole. He just makes people miss, and then he busts off 5, 6, 7, 8 yards almost routinely, it feels like. So I would love to see 14 carries become 18, 19, 20 a game and really get him involved and make him a focal point. Obviously, when you go down by double digits, it hurts to, obviously it makes it less likely where you're going to run the ball. But I do feel like it's so important, and the game hung in the balance. Even with the double-digit lead for a majority of the game, it was tied. It was within one score. So I would have loved to see more running plays, but I will settle for how they looked. Jalen Hurts was phenomenal on the deep ball again, so I won't complain too much. But overall, just a really, really good outing from the Birds. I'm trying to think if there was any other little notes or anything that I forgot. Actually, there was. We had a little injury front, a little action on the injury front this game. Cam Jurgens, left guard for the Eagles, suffered a foot injury. Nick Sirianni said this is going to be a week-to-week thing, so you can almost guarantee that he's not going to be out there next week. He's probably going to miss a few weeks, honestly, so hopefully he's back once we start getting into the thick of our schedule. But Sua Opeta came in for Cam Jurgens at the right guard position and played very well. Nick Sirianni even said after the game how well he played. He's going to be the starting right guard for the Eagles offensive line. A guy who's been in this system for multiple years, so there's comfort there. There's confidence there from the rest of the Eagles offensive line. And I just think that it's going to be a big blow because Cam Jurgens obviously earned the starting job. He won the starting job, and it was important to see him do that in camp and for the future of the team. But, having a guy like Sua Opeta who can step in there at the right guard position, I think is crucial. And it just goes to show you where the Eagles place their value and how often it pays off that where they put their eggs, what basket they put their eggs in, often is the basket that they need to be able to carry what they need to carry to the end zone. I was trying to make that comparison work or that saying work, whatever. But overall, I think he'll do fine. Obviously, a matchup with Aaron Donald next week and the Rams isn't ideal for a guy getting the first start of the season. But I think there's enough conformity with Lane Johnson and I don't know if there's any people you'd rather be flanked by than Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson getting your first start of the season. So Landon Dickerson got through the game without a knock after dealing with that injury from week 3, and then Jordan Mailata played well as well, and he should be out there again. So. That was really the only big injury of note. We expect hopefully the back end gets a little healthier. Nobody else really struggled outside of, Quez Watkins missed this game again. So we'll see kind of how his health keeps going, progresses throughout the week and all that. So we'll check on that. But other than that, I have 2 more notes about the Eagles that I found really, really interesting. This is created of Elliot Shore Parks, a Philadelphia writer. Out of the last 10 Super Bowl losers, so last 10 years, we're talking Super Bowl losers here. In their first 5 games of the season, no team has a better winning percentage than the Philadelphia Eagles do at 4-0. This, obviously we didn't play our 5th game yet, so the Eagles are favored against the Rams. So just for sake of the argument, let's say they win the game. Just for sake of the argument, they could very well lose the game. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Just for sake of argument, they're favored by 5.5 points. Let's say they win, right? So that they would be 5-0, right? The Bengals last year, 2-3, they started. The Chiefs from 2021 started 2-3. The 49ers the year before, 2-3. The Rams the year before, 3-2. Patriots year before, 3-2. Falcons year before, 3-2. Panthers year before that, 1-4. Seahawks year before that, 2-3. Broncos from 2014 were 4-1, so that was the team right there. And then the 49ers from 2013 at 3-2. So almost every Super Bowl loser had a couple hiccups going into week 5 or through week 5 of next year, and a majority of them were below 500. So the fact that the Eagles are undefeated right now, even if they lose against the Rams, they will still be tied for the best start by a Super Bowl loser in the last decade. And I think that it falls on Nick Sirianni. It falls on Jalen Hurts. It falls on Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, your leaders, your captains, by holding the standard to a certain point and making the standard the standard. The main thing is the main thing, and keeping it going. And, I thought that was a great stat. I saw that and I was like, you know what? A lot of people are complaining about how the Eagles are winning. They don't look great. But at the end of the day, 4-0 is 4-0. Booger McFarland said this on Saturday when they were doing the college football game day. You're looking at the resumes, how they won the games. There are only two columns that matter at the end of the year: wins and losses. And that's all we look at. One of my favorite sayings, the box score does not have pictures. So it does not matter how it gets done as long as you get that W. Obviously, toward the end of the season, we'll nitpick when we're talking about who should be favorites and stuff like that. But at this point of the year, stack those wins, baby. Stack those wins. Let's get the 1 seed. Let's make the NFC come through the link. The last thing, more Howie Roseman related here. Jimmy Kempski, writer for Philly Voice. The Eagles are currently projected to have 10 picks in the 2024 draft. Their 4 projected compensatory picks have increased value since we were looking at this stuff in the summertime. So the fact that, Javon Hargrave, these guys, TJ Edwards, like some of these guys that we let go, Miles Sanders, are performing very well, are helping our compensatory picks. We obviously have our first round pick next year, but then we also have 2 second round picks. So we'll have 3 top 2 round picks, and then obviously a number of picks to fill the draft out. So this train ain't stopping anytime soon. So I just want everyone listening to know that. And the fact that Howie's been able to stack that, whatever we need, I think secondary will be a big thing to look at for next year. We're expecting Cam Jurgens to slide to center. If Jason Kelce does retire, maybe they take a couple shots on a linebacker. I expect them to address the secondary, though, heavily. They're going to address the defensive line because Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham seem like this might be their last year. Maybe one more year for Fletcher, but it seems like those guys are going to go too, so they're going to invest in the offensive and defensive line. But just having the extra amount of picks, I think, allows Howie to maybe dip into the linebacker pool or dip into the secondary pool and kind of, build the team up a little bit more there. So I did want to mention those last 2 points. Other than that, the Eagles are 4-0. They got the Rams next week. So let's talk real quick, just a quick preview of what we're expecting. We'll see if Cooper Kupp will be active for this game. There is a lot of talk that that Cooper Kupp will be active for this game. And that's obviously not great. Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown for wide receivers 2 years ago. Last year was playing just as well before the injury. And we'll see kind of how that goes. But he hasn't been activated from the IR yet, so we'll see how that grows. Puka Nacua has been a revelation for the Rams. Could be the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Probably him and CJ Stroud are probably the 2 front runners right now, but he's got 39 catches for 500 yards and a touchdown. Just for reference, A.J. Brown has 29 catches, so 10 less catches for 414 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's got 10 less catches and almost 100 less yards than Puka Nacua so far. They got a good running back in Kyren Williams, who's been very, very good so far. Matt Stafford has been extremely good this year. He is turning the ball over with 5 interceptions, but he has been playing very, very well for them. Aaron Donald is still Aaron Donald. I don't know if anybody forgot about him because he missed a lot of the year last year with health injuries, with health-related issues. But Aaron Donald is still that guy. So that is the number 1 matchup to watch here. Jason Kelce versus Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is going to pick on the guards too. Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelce, and Sua Peta versus Aaron Donald is going to be a major, major factor in this game. But I think the Eagles know that. Jalen Hurts' mobile ability, I think, will be crucial for them. And then this is the defense on the back end that I think we'll be able to pick on after the Rams kind of started a little bit better than some people thought. They got a big win this last week over, let me see if I could just pull that up real quick, because they got a nice little walk-off win over the Colts in Indianapolis. So Indy's obviously not the best team in the league. There's, rookie quarterback. They're trying to figure some things out, but they are looking a little tougher than most. So it was a good win for the Rams in overtime to beat the Colts on the road. It's always big to get a win on the road in there. But honestly, as I'm looking now, the spread is down to 4.5 now for this game. So, some big bettors are maybe taking the Rams in this one at home as a home dog. I think it's probably a good bet in terms of just the value of the points. The Eagles have, I just mentioned all that, but they have looked a little shaky in games. So the fact that, you can get 5.5 points as a home dog for a team that looks pretty good with who might be adding Cooper Kupp, last wide receiver to get MVP votes outside of Justin Jefferson, I think that will allow for some, fuzziness in the line. I think the Eagles cover. I think they do. This is going to be a very, very tough game, but I feel like the Eagles travel well, specifically to Los Angeles. I feel like there's a lot of Eagles contingency out there. I expect SoFi Stadium to be 50-50, Eagles fans, Rams fans, potentially even 55-45. I think that's going to be crucial to maybe sneak a little home field advantage from there and to be really, really impactful. So overall, do I love 4.5 on the road? No, but I do think that they cover the number and play really, really well, because I think this last win, you could just tell from the guys after the game, the morale just spiked because they were able to get this win. If they lost this game, it wouldn't be the end of the world. They'd be 3-1. They'd still be number one in the NFC East. But the fact that they were able to find a way to win just shows so much about this team. And I can't wait. Can't wait for their 425 game against the Rams. But that is going to do it for the show today, guys. So once again, check the description below for all our social media handles. Feel free to shoot us any questions. We'll answer it live on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in again. We'll look forward to seeing you back here again next time. Let's go, Phils.